why NFTs and what made them click for you? That's the first thing we want to start off this podcast.
Collectibles and decentralized servers that prove ownership, that allow for utility in the smart contract without any manipulation. Better technology than a QR code or an app or a piece of paper to create utility from a contract standpoint, which could obviously be anything from tickets to a receipt when you buy something. The reason, even in the height of the NFT craze on the collectible side, that I made a lot of videos saying 99% are going to go to zero, was because the trading cards, comic books, sneakers, art, like you have behind you, my friend, all of those things work the same way. 99% of trading cards aren't worth that much. 99% of Pokemon cards are not worth that much. 99% of basketball cards, 99% of comic books, 99% of sneakers, 99% of watches, 99% of art. Well, the reason people are confused is, when people say NFTs were like Beanie Babies, they get confused. NFTs are like stuffed animals. They're always right. Beanie Babies had a moment, Cabbage Patch Kids had a moment, Transformers had a moment, Power Rangers had a moment, Raggedy Ann had a moment. Teddy bears are pretty iconic, they always have a moment, but individual ones. What happened a couple years ago was everyone thought every single NFT project and every NFT within the project was something worth collecting and flipping. And so that's where people get confused. It's the same thing that's going to happen now with AI startups. AI is going to be remarkable. 99% of AI startups are going to fail.
Do you remember when it clicked? Because we have the blockchain and we have the blockchain technology. Do you remember when it wasn't really like an aha moment for you?
Yeah, there was an aha moment in 2020 in like February where I was like, okay, this is really happening. I saw CryptoKitties in 2017. I saw NBA Top Shot launch, but there was all noise on the outside. And then I got to do homework after the holidays, and got real focused. And it was just very clear to me that that there was something here, and I still believe it to be true. I mean, what's staggering is not only is the market, the collectible market, way less feverish, it also, because of its gold rush mentality, had a real serious correction, 90%, 95%. That's a crash. Yet, every day, people are buying NFTs around the world at scale. Everyone's like, it's down so much. I'm like, yes, but like if I told you today that hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of NFTs would be bought today, 3 years ago, you'd be like, that's insane. So, I think, look, we need clarity on regulation from all the governments in the world. We need clarity on patience to let a market develop for the collectibles. We need different executions. NFTs today is like HTTP. It's like a protocol. Like they may be just called digital collectibles one day. We used to call the internet the World Wide Web or the information superhighway. If you told me in 19 years, people are like, oh, the VeeFriends digital collectible. And like people, like the 17-year-olds don't even know what the term NFT is because they were born 2 years from now. I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. I don't really care what you call them. Collectibles that sit on the blockchain, that are sought after by someone, that is owned by someone, and are freely tradable on the open market is very clear to me as a viable reality of how the world's going to work, because that's what happens with Madden points and 2K and weapons for all these video games, and it's what happens in the physical world. People collect things, magnets and matchboxes and business cards and sneakers and all the stuff people know, and toys and VHS tapes and CDs and movie posters that humans collect. And
why VeeFriends?
Well, VeeFriends...
Because then you transition, we buy it. And funny story, I met Bobe, my co-host now, I met Bobe and in the VeeFriends Discord, in the GiveGo chat.
Yes.
And he was another Mexican. And I said, hey, you're collecting drawings of this old man called Gary. I want to collect them with you. And we started talking in Spanish. And then we met in person in Minneapolis, in Beacon. But why now? Like, okay, it was the aha moment, and then you went into VeeFriends.
Because I've always
very early.
Yeah, very early. But but I think for me, I wanted to I always wanted to buy a nostalgic IP. I wanted to buy Smurfs or Scooby-Doo or Gumby and refurbish it, contemporary marketing. When I saw this, I'm like, wait a minute, I can build my own IP. In 2018 or 19, I don't remember, I think 18, right, because COVID was 19. In 18, I had this idea to create this concept called Workplace Warriors. Workplace Warriors, because I was getting so many emails from people that were unhappy at work. And I wanted to make mini, I'm looking for one of the VeeFriends minis, I don't know if there is any here. I wanted to make mini toys to put on people's table here they are. I wanted to make toys that look like this. I don't know this, some people are, mainly people are listening to this, but if we make videos, I want to make these toys. This is Patient Panda, right? And this is Genuine Giraffe. And I wanted to, I noticed so many of my employees would have these toys sitting on their table, The Simpsons, Marvel. And I was like, so many of the DMs and emails I get are people unhappy at work. What if I created these characters, and every time a boss yells at them or a client yells at them or they're having a bad day, they can look at Patient Panda and be like, I gotta be patient. Because that's how it works. That's how the world works. And so I was really excited about it. I was gonna make these workplace warriors. Fun fact, because you're wearing Passionate Parrot hat, the original patient was Parrot, not Panda, and you're wearing Proactive Puffin, right? And so, so I always had this idea I might do that toy. So when it came time to do the VeeFriends, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I can invent this world based on this other thing, and I want to hand draw them because it's important that, there's obviously there's a big difference. This is the original drawing of self-aware hair, right? On the trading card, very simple, that's what I can do. And then obviously we then transition into, making them in series 2. It was important to create the version that the world would see them in as I continue to develop this IP. And we're doing this interview in the moment where the trading cards are on fire, right? Series 2, when you bought a box, you got an NFT, or when you got the NFT, you got the box with Series 2. The cards are being very collectible. We just announced the game, similar to a Yu-Gi-Oh! Or a Magic the Gathering, or a Dragon Ball Z, or a Pokemon. The game is off to a very hot start, and we have to build an intellectual property, and we'll do that. We just announced Squishmallows deal today, which is the most popular toy in the world. And we continue, this because it's like I'm very aware that plenty of people in the VeeFriends land who have tokens with the correction of pricing are like, hey, what are you gonna do for us? This whole there's a lot of pressure for us NFT, operators, but that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to create success for this IP. Right now, it's kind of it's tough to, create demand in a place where the demand is correcting. So I think the mistake a lot of people are making is they're trying to squeeze out of a grapefruit when the grapefruit's already been squeezed. I'm trying to create demand for the whole world. Right now, I feel like in the analog world, that's the right way to go because I'm playing this long term. And, I expect, people to collect NFTs, collectibles forever, for the rest of my life. And, it ebbs and flows. And Michael Jordan's rookie card ebbs and flows. And Batman 1 ebbs and flows, and so I gotta focus on creating stories around the characters and get people to care, and I gotta focus on places where I think we can win, and that's what I'm focused on right now.
Awesome. So now we want to transition, Gary, to a question more focused on our community, which is the Latin American community. We know you recently, or not so recently, opened offices in Mexico City with VaynerMedia.
That's right.
So we've been wondering what are you seeing in our region? What opportunities do you see?
Yeah, to me, South of America, Central South America, even the Caribbean to some degree, but specifically Latin America, Mexico specifically, the Brazils, the Argentinians, the Colombias, have some of the most vibrant humans on earth. are large markets. For me personally, subjectively, I find the people to be incredibly passionate and warm. I'm an immigrant. I associate with a lot of things that are real life in that part of the world. Family, respect. I'm a very big fan of how much Mexican and Panama and Costa Rica, and on and on. I can name every country in Central and South America, Bolivia, I'm very fond of the respect for the elders that comes from that community and that part of the world. But unlike where I was born in the Soviet Union, and even unlike America, where I think we work ourselves to the bone, even though I love doing that, I do think there's a level of joy and happiness and fiesta, and there's just a little bit more of that Latin spirit. The hips wiggle a little bit better, the music's just a little bit more exciting, the food, the beverage, and so I think it's just an incredibly interesting part of the world. When I think about Vayner, when I think about VeeFriends, when I think about Gary Vaynerchuk, GaryVee, to me, Latin America and Africa and the Middle East are clearly places that I have a lot of excitement about for different reasons. Obviously, living in New York City, I'm close to Mexico City, I'm close to Sao Paulo and Puerto Rico and Medellin and all those things. And so, not to mention American trends of pop culture, the peso and the Balvin and and the Bad Bunny. It's just very clear to me. I'm watching teenagers listening to Spanish music, not knowing one word, not a word, not a single word, and it's their favorite song. And so, I think for me, I'm trying to build a business empire while making it fun for me. And so Mexico City's off to a very good start. The right place to start for me, in my opinion, was VaynerX, because that's the meatiest thing I do, allows me to set up an office. But let's talk about collectibles. One of my favorite toys in the 80s were DC toys called Superpowers. Batman, Superman, 1985, 86. Well, I'll never forget when eBay came out and I started looking up my favorite toys, things I would see at garage sales, things I could buy to flip. That's when I got very educated, because the internet was still new when eBay came out, and I was like, wait a minute, there's 3 or 4 superheroes that were made in this Superpowers line, and they're Latin America exclusives. They were sold in Brazil. These characters, I didn't even know they existed, because back in the 80s, you'd buy a toy, you'd turn it to the back, and you'd see all the figures you could collect. It was on the carton. Pre-internet, obviously the ones that were only sold in Mexico and Brazil and Argentina were not on the card. They were on the card down there. So, one of the things I'm excited about with VeeFriends is both NFT and physical. Will there be a time where it's a Spanish exclusive and only in Spanish speaking countries, or a Portuguese exclusive just for Portugal and Brazil? I'm really excited about this journey. I think when I talk about...
We call deeps on that partnership. We call deeps.
When I think about this journey, I'm thinking very long term. This, you're part of my community. Sometimes people get mad at me when I talk long term because they're looking for a quick, and I get it. When your gift goat's worth this much and now it's worth this, or I understand. I also know it's bigger than me, not to mention the things I'm accountable for. When I make mistakes in life, the only thing I know how to do is to go forward and try to make things better. And right now, that's what I'm navigating. So anyway, to answer your question directly, it's because it's one of the best places in the world with some of the best people. And I think it's also culturally similar to Black culture, and its value and depth and just the beautifulness that it brings to America. I think America's being affected by Latin culture now, and will be for the rest of my life, and I'm excited about that. I love the melting pot of this country. When I think about the world I live in America, how much was affected by Irish and Italian immigrants and Eastern European immigrants. It's really cool. Think about the foods we eat here, whether it's pizza or the beers we drink, Germany, Ireland. I'm excited to see America and other parts of the world, but I can speak to America because I know the consumer market very well. 40 years, you even think about Chipotle or Taco Bell. These are not brands that could have succeeded 50 years ago. Pizza Hut, I don't think people are paying attention. Hamburgers from hot dogs from Germany. I like stuff like that. I like marketing. I like consumer behavior. And so I think it's important for me to be a force and learn from, but then also just enjoy. again, enjoyment matters. Going to Mexico City or going to Buenos Aires or going to Medellin and having a business meeting for 12 hours, but then going at night and having like fun at your dinner meetings, that's like nice. So, and just a lot of grinding, very like, I appreciate the spirit of growing up in America with a low income reality is different than growing up in a lot of parts of Latin America with low income. You know, someone poor in America is rich in a lot of these countries, and that gives you an extra gear of grinding, and you know, that is what I respect the most. I really do. Work ethic and hard work and trying to build something for your family the right way is something I respect. It means something to me. I lived it, and so it matters to me, and I see a lot of that spirit throughout South and Central America, Mexico.
Yeah, we want to know some advice for these people, for our community. We were thinking about advice specifically of Web3 and NFTs, how to succeed in the space, but actually in general, what kind of
I'll
advice?
Go ahead. And I apologize, I have a very big client meeting in a minute, so everybody, I'm going to be abrupt here when I leave. Here's the advice. On Web3, education, education, education. The Web3 opportunities will be enormous over the next 20 years. They're the needles in the haystack right now because of the correction, but they're going to be very obvious in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. So education, and then in general, self-awareness. If you're listening right now, maybe you want to be J Balvin, but you're not talented enough. Maybe, right? Maybe you want to be, you know, Messi, but you're not talented enough, right? Maybe you want to be an entrepreneur you look up to, and you're not talented enough. That's okay. But know who you are, know what you're good at, and then think about the things that you enjoy and your passions.
And to close, Gary,
yes.
we wanna time to get selfish, as you say. Today you posted a high school party rule that you hack the system if you throw the party at a high school.
Yes.
We feel that we already done that. We have you here. We have Snow from the pod. We have Tony Herrera, one of our advisors of Continuo. We already feel that we hacked the system. But we feel right now that we have the jab, and we want to give that right hook. We have the community, we have the podcast. What advice would you give to us? And we're talking about Latin American NFTs, blockchain. What advice would you give to us as Continuo and if you are in our shoes grinding?
I'm not close enough to know what your asks are, like what you'd like to happen, but the answer is you ask. Like if you want a sponsor for the podcast, you have to email all 700 companies and people that might say yes. You know, most of us included, are trying to manage cash properly because of the market and all this. So it's not the best time to land a right hook. But all you need is one answer of yes. And maybe that comes from Pepsi. Maybe that comes from BMW. Maybe from Nike. Maybe from Bored Ape. Maybe from VeeFriends. I can tell you for us, we're just trying to be very focused right now. So we're saying no more than ever. But somebody else on another side is saying yes. So, you know, I think the advice is to ask. Send emails. 10 of them a day, 50 of them a day, 100 of them a day, asking for whatever's on your mind. All right, I got to run. I can't be late for this.
Thank you, Gary. A pleasure to have you here.
I know I need to stay for a second to make sure we got it, right?
We got it. Thank you very much, Gary. It was a pleasure.
Stay well.